KNBR 104.5.
Over the Milwaukee Brewers, good ball game. Giants played mostly a clean and what I would say a high-level game in this one. A lot of good defense. The power was on full display, which lately has been the case for the Giants when they've been away from Oracle Park. It was a foul ball bonanza, and the Giants did get home runs in this game from Matt Chapman, and from Grant McCray, and from Mike Yastrzemski. Yastrzemski, the big blow in the seventh inning, which came after the Giants had given up the lead in this one in the sixth. And, man, Bob Melvin at times this year, damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. Logan Webb gets hit with the 15-pitch at bat in the first inning, ends up throwing 33 pitches in the first inning, doesn't allow a hit or a run. And, the Giants really back and forth affair. Good ball game. They took the 1-0 lead on the Grant McCray leadoff walk in the third, and then he steals second, and then ends up balked over to third. So the speed playing a full impact as far as the Giants being able to scratch that run. Lamont Wade with an RBI ground out, 1-0 there. Matt Chapman able to tie the game at that point in the fourth inning with his home run after Churio had hit the two-run homer with one out in the bottom of the third. So Giants were up 1-0, then down 2-1, then it's 2-2. You get the Blake Perkins robbery of Tyro Estrada's ball in the fifth inning, but then Grant McCray goes deep. And so the Giants are up 3-2, feeling good. Nice game from Grant McCray, and you're wondering what's going to happen with Logan Webb. Will he go back out for the bottom of the sixth inning after the Giants went in order in the top of the sixth, and he had got through the sixth pretty clean, or the fifth rather, pretty clean after the Giants had got the lead. And then the Giants go down in order quickly in the sixth, and Logan Webb goes back out there at 96 pitches. And after all of the discussion in the White Sox game last week about, should Logan Webb have pitched the ninth inning, and he hadn't been feeling as good, and they were trying to protect him a little bit, so Bob Melvin goes to the bullpen, and in that game it winds up with the Giants losing for not having Logan Webb out there, and then he sticks with Logan Webb for one more inning, or at least what was intended to be one more inning, and then that winds up not working out as Adames hit a home run to give the Brewers the 4-3 lead in the sixth. And so all of a sudden, you're feeling like, oh, man, this has the potential to be another one of those games where no matter what Bob Melvin does, it seemingly has not worked out for him. Pulls him after 8, leaves him in this one. Neither decision works. But Mike Yastrzemski and the Giants bullpen and a lot of good defense really helped everything stand up from there. As Yastrzemski would answer with the big home run in the seventh inning, and the Giants had the 5-4 lead back there, and they are able to hold on for this 5-4 win against a first-place team and the Milwaukee Brewers. So real nice win. Giants don't gain any ground in the wild card race, at least as it relates to the Braves. Braves won in Minneapolis at Target Field. They had a 4-0 lead, actually blew that lead. Game ended up 4-4 into extra innings, and the Braves win 8-6 over the Twins in that one. So the Giants still 5.5 back. They're tied with the Cubs now, and the Mets are still in between the Giants and Cubs, who are tied, and the Braves. Giants 2 back of the Mets, but the Mets are the first team out, and 5.5 back with a lead that the Braves have of 3.5 over the Mets, who are that first team out again. So still looking like very much a long shot, a less than 10% chance. I think it's right around a 6-7% chance of the Giants making the postseason. So playing out the string, but trying to have at least some performances here that can try and transcend or bridge 2024 to 2025. A lot of evaluation still to be done, not only of the young players that Farhan Zaidi's put on this team, but just, do they finish strong for Bob Melvin, which I think is also something that is to be monitored here between now and when things wrap up. And, man, the end of the season is coming fast with September 29th, the final day of the regular season, basically just about a month to go in the season. So 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. If you want to jump in and join the conversation, we do have some lines open. We'll get to the Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line as we roll here until 10 o'clock with your thoughts on, again, what I think was one of the more entertaining and well-played games, actually, by the Giants this season. They earned themselves a 5-4 win at Milwaukee in the first of what's going to be 6 games against the division-leading Brewers and a very good team throughout the course of this season in Milwaukee. So 808 KNBR, we'll go ahead and pause here. We'll come back. John Dickinson on SportsVone KNBR post-Giants game edition right here on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.
This is Greg Papa, your voice of 49ers football. Papa and Lund, 10 to 2, right here
on KNBR and KNBR FM, San Francisco. Sports Phone KNBR keeps rolling live from the KNBR Casino Matrix Progressive Jackpot Studios. Casino Matrix Progressive Jackpots are here. Where are you? Just drop in. Please play responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER.
2-1, Chapman a drive, hit out to deep right center, going back Perkins, onto the track, looking up, it is gone! And with that swing of the bat, Matt Chapman takes back the team lead in homers, number 21. A solo shot to right center, Giants tie the game at 2.
And Joe Rizzo on the call there, Matt Chapman. 2 out in the fourth, tying that ball game up at 2-2. Giants go on to win it 5-4 the final in Milwaukee as they get the first game of this 3-game series against the Brewers. Kyle Harrison and Hayden Birdsong to go in the next 2 games as the Giants, real nice win. Clean ball game, good ball game, high-level ball game. You can see the Brewers with some of their defensive prowess, and my goodness, the catch that Blake Perkins made to rob Tyro Estrada in the top of the 5th of a home run. I mean, wow. I mean, just that's as good as it gets in terms of a home run robbery. And then to see the note that he's got, 4 of them on the season? 4 home run robberies that the Brewers have 8, which is 3 more than the next closest team. And Perkins has got 4, and the Angels are the next closest team with 5. And the Brewers have 8. So 4 others for the Brewers team in addition to the 4 that Perkins now has himself. And, the Brewers play quality defense. They get after it on the bases. And the Giants tonight went toe-to-toe, really, on a night where, 90 feet mistakes have really become a staple as to some of the disappointment of this Giants season overall. Sloppy play in a lot of the games where the Giants wind up not winning has been, too often a part of the conversation. But for one night, the Giants go into Milwaukee and play the Brewers toe-to-toe at their own game. And, oh, by the way, they hit 3 out of the ballpark to plate 4 of the 5 runs. And then the 5th run, the run that kind of proves to be the difference, was the first run of the night with Grant McCray, the leadoff walk, steals second, then balked to third with 1 out after Casale struck out, and then Lamont Wade Jr. with the ground ball out to make it 1-0. And at that point, the Giants were, 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position. And you're thinking, wow, is this going to be one of those nights, maybe another close loss? The Giants ended up 0 for 9 with runners in scoring position. Now, the Brewers didn't fare much better, 1 for 7. And the long ball, obviously, the tale of the night here with Churio and Adames, each with a couple of 2-run pokes for the Brewers runs. The Giants able to plate a run on the Chapman homer. Obviously, Grant McCray would go deep himself, and then Mike Yastrzemski, the 2-run shot in the top of the 7th. So 8 of the 9 runs via the homer in this one, but the one that wasn't goes the Giants' way, and it was basically a run scratched out by the speed and athleticism of Grant McCray, who played a nice game in the field as well, and the Giants are able to win despite the fact that Logan Webb really was made to work by the Brewers. And one of the early stories of this one, the William Contreras 15-pitch at bat with 11 foul balls, and it ends up turning into a walk there. But Lamont Wade saved a run with the dive in that first inning, and Webb was able to get the third out and get out of the inning. And so Logan Webb ends up pitching into the 6th inning. We can quibble about should Bob Melvin have taken him out. But I think Bob Melvin always likes to go typically an inning longer than maybe originally planned when he can with Logan Webb. Didn't quite work out that way in his last start, and then it didn't work in terms of leaving Logan Webb in this game. But the Giants able to get Webb off the hook. Mike Yastrzemski doing that with the homer in that 7th inning. And it's all gravy for the Giants tonight. Really kind of one of the feel-good wins in some ways of the season, considering opponent, but no ground gained as it relates to the wild card race, as the Mets are leading right now in Arizona 8-3. That game in the 8th inning. We talked about the Braves who won earlier in Minnesota 8-6 in extra innings. And, oh, by the way, the Cubs have actually gotten hot and have tied the Giants at a game over 500. So big-time long shot in terms of the postseason at this point. The Giants are going to have to get just out of this world hot. But at this point, I think it until further notice, the question should probably shift to, what are the big key takeaways and what are you looking for this team that can kind of translate from this year to next? And, on a night where, Matt Chapman goes deep, the thought process shifts toward, is Matt Chapman somebody that the Giants can figure out a way to get under contract for next year and beyond, do kind of a long-term deal with him before he gets to free agency? Can they make it worth his while and keep somebody who really is a tone setter and somebody that you do like to have be, one of your vets, one of your leaders on the roster? So when he goes deep, you think about Chapman. Can they get something done with him this offseason? Bob Melvin will make his case. And then you also look at the young players. And, Logan Webb's obviously going to be around. But to me, you look at, somebody like Grant McCray, who continues to look pretty comfortable. And he was brought up as a speed, toolsy, athletic, going to run the ball down in the outfield. But he showed off a little bit of pop. And it's been impressive. A couple of games in a row where McCray goes deep. In Seattle on Sunday afternoon, and then in the 5th inning in this one. And you look at it, and that gave the Giants a 3-2 lead at that point. Grant McCray, somebody. It's a lot of these young guys and how they perform, how they finish. Is Tyler Fitzgerald able to continue to bounce back after a tough weekend in Seattle and finish strong? We've seen Elliot Ramos after a cold spell start to heat up again. It's a lot of the, figuring out how many of these young guys, I think, for the Giants this year fit into next year's plans at this point. And then some of the guys that you didn't deal at the trade deadline when you could make the case that maybe you should have, can you keep those guys around? Because that's one way to sort of rectify what would be viewed as a poor decision in terms of not maybe selling at the deadline. Well, the one way you can flip the script on that is if you keep these guys around longer term. And you look to have them be building blocks with more players continuing to grow in the minor league system. And then, looking to again, try and add potentially via trade or free agency. Although I think, again, trade is the way that the Giants are going to have to go about this thing if they're going to look to get enough offense, an infusion of offense, because so many of their top hitting prospects are in the low minors that there is a gap to be bridged. And we've seen the inability to go out and sign the veteran-type players that are prime-type veteran-type players. You can have some tone setters, and I think Chapman's a tone setter. You can try to keep Blake Snell, but you're going to have to pay big cake to be able to do that. But it becomes, how do they get some, how do you get a mid to late 20s type of a guy or two to inject some life into this offense moving into 2025? Let's get Barfighter in San Jose, 808 KNBR, up first here on the Sports Leader here on Sports Phone Post-Giants Game Edition. What's going on, Barfighter?
What's rocking, brother?
What's on your mind tonight?
Hey, I told the real deal, Bill Lasky,
sure,
and I agree. I agree with everything. Actually, your whole analysis of what you said, and the talent is in the lower minors, and there's going to have to be a bridge between the lower minors that's going to reach the majors, probably in a couple of years. But there is something to build upon. There is talent on this team, and what I believe is that Melvin is just basically doing an analysis of what he has to go forward to next year.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of where this thing is. Thanks, Barfighter. Right now is evaluation of who are maybe the keepers, who's potentially not going to be around. It's not the position you want to be in on August 27th. And look, they're not mathematically out of it, but they're basically all but mathematically out of it. They're going to have to do something extremely unforeseen if they're going to truly get back into the race. 5.5 back, 6 in the loss column is a ton this late in the season. Like it will have to be an otherworldly hot streak and or collapse for the Giants to end up, in a position where they can make the postseason. And look, that just hasn't been the team that they've been all year. Tonight's not the night really to belabor that, but tonight is also a night that continues to show that sometimes, as bad as 67 and 66 has looked, it's still 67 and 66. And there is some talent, but again, there are guys you can look up and down the lineup, and there's a lot of question marks as to who's going to be here and who's not. And I think that's what gets interesting. Is Lamont Wade Jr. going to be here next year? Is Conforto? Probably not. Is Yastrzemski? Probably not. Is Estrada? Probably not. You've got Jung-Hoo Lee coming back. I think the Giants would love to bring Chapman back. Is Grant McCray somebody that next year's going to be, considered to be an everyday player? I mean, we'll see. I think even if he has a real good month in September, it doesn't necessarily salt that away for him. I mean, I think you could make the case there's even questions about the full season viability of a Elliot Ramos and a Tyler Fitzgerald. I mean, they may earn opportunities to be starting players at the beginning of next year, but then they got to go prove they can do it as an incumbent, from the end of March until the end of September. And so even that is its own, next level for guys who have been among the most productive. And Ramos really for the last 3.5 months, Fitzgerald obviously for the last month. But you're not keeping everybody that's helping you get to that 500, and I think that's the right decision. But you also have some, replacement level holes to fill in addition to trying to get better. So I think the calculus on the whole thing is a lot trickier. And then is Farhan Zaidi the guy to lead the way? And I think we're going to get a lot of the answers on that between now and September 29th. All right, let's go ahead and pause again. 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. It is Sports Phone KNBR here on a Tuesday night post-Giants game edition. Giants beat the Brewers 5-4 the final in this one. As we'll keep things rolling until about 10 o'clock here. We'll get to Mike. We'll get to Michael. We'll get to Judah as well. And we may even talk a little 49ers as the 53-man roster is set, at least the initial one. We'll get into some of that between now and 10 o'clock. It's John Dickinson right here on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Sports Phone KNBR keeps rolling live from the KNBR Casino Matrix Progressive Jackpot Studios. Casino Matrix Progressive Jackpots are here. Where are you? Just drop in. Please play responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER.
Now McRae, he launches one high and deep, right field, way back. It is gone. And there's no doubt about that one. Grant McRae over the Giants bullpen into the second deck, and the Giants lead 3-2.
Big blast from Grant McRae. We welcome you back to Sports Phone KNBR here on a Tuesday night. John Dickinson sitting in until 10 o'clock. 8:08 KNBR. Giants win over the Brewers. 5-4 the final. Mike Yastrzemski with the go-ahead game winner in the top of the seventh inning. Giants with pretty clean defensive play tonight and solid bullpen efforts for San Francisco in this one after they took that 5-4 lead in the seventh. Roop in the seventh, and then Tyler Rogers to clean up the back end of the seventh with a couple of runners on, and then through the eighth, and some real sharp defense. And, man, the pitch that Tyler Rogers threw to Jackson Chourio to strike him out on the inside, that's about as nasty a pitch as I've seen thrown in the majors this season. Just made him look absolutely brutal at the plate. And, and then Ryan Walker does what Ryan Walker's been doing, although only one strikeout for Ryan Walker. But he did allow the Adama single and got Perkins to fly out to Yastrzemski to end it. So the Giants 2-2 on the trip, and 2 more to go in Milwaukee. 808 KNBR, back to the phones. Michael in Sunnyvale is next here on the Sports Leader. Hey, Michael.
How you doing, JD? I haven't seen you at many games recently up in the box, probably because you're busy. But
I've been at 49er training camp a lot since training camp opened about a month ago, and so it's been more there and more filling in and different hosting shifts when guys are out. But I am going to be back next week, so look for me, Michael. I will be back out there for. Appreciate it. Always good to see you.
I was wave and say hello, but so I appreciate your kind of well balanced feedback on these games because. I think with the Giants, they have a whole bunch of guys that come up and shine for a bit. And the problem is we need to have those guys shine for an extended period of time. I mean, Grant McRae, that's great, but, what happens in the outfield next year? Is it Lee, McRae, and Ramos, and then dump everybody else? But we haven't seen McRae last more than a month, and that's really seems to be the tipping point with a lot of guys. Nobody expected Fitzgerald to be holding on, and so that's a big win, right? That's one of those things that people expected from Farhan, the guy who all of a sudden came up and did big things, right? So we can hope for that. But, I mean, the Giants, the one tell for me as a season ticket holder is nobody's sent out a postseason offer to me yet, right? So
okay.
I don't see that. Typically if the Giants have a whisper of a chance of getting into the postseason, then they're going to pump that postseason, ticket package out to season ticket holders with connections to getting same price next year, discount for this or that. And I haven't seen my agent calling me up yet to remind me to get in for postseason. The team is what it is, and I hope for the future. I'm happy to get rid of a bunch of the guys who aren't doing it, and I hope for the best from the young guys. Tonight was one of the games I hadn't seen in a while. Duvall gets the win, giving up 2 walks in an inning. Is that a positive?
Yeah, look, he still is working through it. Pitch clock violation, walk, another walk, and then he got Chourio on the first pitch there. But yeah, you can definitely see why he was sent down. The circumstances in the loss last week, coupled with now Jordan Hicks banged up a little bit, you can see where that would lead to, all right, it's time to bring him back up. But I think if they brought him back up more by necessity than because he fixed himself during his time in the minors. So I still think he's clearly trying to work through it, Michael.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see the young guys shine, no doubt, right? And, the funny thing is, it's like you look at the Giants with a $200 million payroll, but none of the guys really delivered in the first half because of injury or recovery or lack of production in some cases, right? So now it's almost like we got to flush it and finally just try to start fresh. My last point, Matt Chapman, if the Giants can't sign him now, then dump him because his numbers don't add up to a 5-6 year ginormous contract. I think you might have mentioned the other day that on any other real team, he's a 6'7". Yes, he's a glove. But if he wants to come in and expect to get like a 5-year, $30 million, then he's got to be doing 30-30, 35, 20, and with 80, 90, not what he's doing now. What he's doing now is because of the Giants' pathetic delivery. That's why Wilmer Flores looked like, the biggest bat on our team last year, which is kind of sad.
It is. And, Michael, thanks for the call. I'm up against it a little bit. We got a lot of people that want to talk. I want to sneak one more in here. As far as, Chapman goes, I mean, he's a leader. He's a vet. He's a tone setter. He's not really a carrier. He's not truly a 3-4 type hitter. And, what the Giants need to do is be able to figure out a way to keep him, but also put him in an appropriate point in a lineup that's a lot deeper, and then he can come up in some big spots and kind of be one of the driving forces. All right, I want to get Mike in San Francisco real quick here before we have to pause again. Mike, you are on Sports Phone KNBR here with JD on a Tuesday night. Well, you got a quick farm update for us, Mike. Let us know what's going down in San Jose.
For sure. Enjoyed the show so far, too.
Thank you.
San Jose, feel good story in San Jose tonight. They as well. They had a 7-5 win, and in the bottom of the 8th inning, a catcher named Ty Hanchey hit a rocket launcher over the right field fence. But I was happy to see a couple of our guys that are major prospects in the system. That being Robert Hipwell. He might be our best third baseman prospect. I'm not too certain about that. But he hit a nice long ball tonight and had another hit himself. And Walker Martin, Giants' supposed best shortstop prospect. In the 7th inning there, he nearly hit a grand slam, delivered a nice ball that one-hopped the fence, and really powerful, compact swing, and really enjoyed seeing him get another single earlier in the game. But just happy to share that with you tonight.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it, man. And enjoy those games. And unfortunately, I mean, those guys they're going to be here before you know it, but they're also still a little bit of ways away, and the Giants are going to have to figure out how they're going to, as we talked about, bridge that gap. 808 KNBR, we'll get to Timmy, we'll get to Judah, but longer game tonight, longer post-game tonight, so we do need to sneak in another quick timeout, but we do have a couple of lines open. We'll keep this thing rolling until 10 right here on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
This is where we feed the faithful. Sports Phone, KNBR. Streaming live at twitch.tv/the Sports Leader.
Here's a swing and a high fly ball. Deep left center, hit well. Perkins back. He leaps, and Perkins makes the catch, robbing a home run from Thairo Estrada. An unbelievable play. Well above that yellow line from Blake Perkins.
Yeah, rough one for Thairo Estrada as he ends up 0 for 4, although his at-bats have been a little bit better of late, but without the results. And, yeah, Blake Perkins that's got to be one of the 5 best outfielder catches I've seen this season, hands down. I mean, that was just an incredible home run robbery as Perkins was able to snare that one, keeping the game tied. But then Grant McCray went deep, next man up, catch that, and nobody did. So a couple of straight games for Grant McCray with a home run. But, yeah, wow, unbelievable catch from Blake Perkins with Estrada leading off the 5th inning in what was a tie game. We're back here on Sports Phone KNBR. 808 KNBR, it's John Dickinson with you here on a Tuesday, and I'll be with you tomorrow night as well following the Giants and the Brewers, and did want to get into a little bit of 49ers conversation, and maybe we'll save that for the last 5 or 6 minutes or so here and do more of it tomorrow. We might get a shorter game tomorrow. Be hard to top entertainment value tomorrow's game compared to this one. Really well-played, high-level contest, and the Giants get the win in the series opener. Let's get back to the phones, though, at 808 KNBR. And Timmy in the city is next here on the Sports Leader. Hey, Timmy.
Hi, John. How's it going?
I'm doing well tonight. How are you?
Good. I'd love to offer what might be kind of a dissenting opinion, and it's something that's been bothering me for a few years, kind of big picture, zoom out about the Giants. This offseason, we're going to hear so much about how the Giants are going to struggle yet again to land the big fish. They're not going to get Soto. It'll look like they might. They didn't get Judge or Harper or Ohtani. But I just think that there's kind of a collective amnesia going on if we think that's how the Giants are going to get back into World Series contention. That's just not how, in my opinion, and I was raised on the 2010, 12, 14 teams. I'm a 25-year-old. That was like when I was getting into baseball. Giants teams only reach that next level when there is that magic that comes from the randomness of the squad that's been put together. Their slogan was the misfits back in the day. I think that we forget that they did not succeed. They did not get the World Series, even with the greatest player in the history of the sport. That's not how they have achieved that next level. So I think next year with a squad that looks like, giving Ramos a full shot and Fitzgerald a full shot, let Ryan Walker do his thing, let Doval get back on track, it's a team that might completely fail. But it would have that in common with every Giants team that has had great success in the past 15 years. So I just urge Giants fans to have the patience to allow that magic back in, because in my opinion, that's actually the only way that it's worked in my lifetime anyway.
Well, I mean, that the last part is a fact. I mean, it is the only way that it has worked in your lifetime and mine. And I'm a little older than you are, but they hadn't won any when I was growing up either. So, but I will say this: they also had Buster Posey, who in 2010 was a top flight prospect who came up and performed on schedule like a top flight prospect performs, and was the Rookie of the Year and came up at the end of May and was just awesome. And then he was an MVP the second time they won the World Series, and they had elite starting pitching from Cy Young Award winners in Lincecum and as good a homegrown starting rotation as you could find. And so I think sometimes, Timmy, I appreciate the call. I do think there's a little bit of revisionist history, and I speak to this a lot, as to just I think sometimes Giants fans go back and they look at those teams in 10, 12, and 14, and they don't put enough respect on how talented they were. Like, I think you almost look to, view those teams as, I don't know why fans would do this, but almost like worse than they're viewed as worse than they really were, and it almost becomes reasoning behind the logic as to why some of these truly mediocre teams, like this year's team and last year's team and the 2022 team, are maybe better than expect. Like, there's almost too much comparing of, well, this has got a bunch of random young guys and veterans. It's like, no. Those teams had guys who came up on time and performed, from Pablo Sandoval to Buster Posey to Tim Lincecum to Matt Cain to Madison Bumgarner to even somebody like a Jonathan Sanchez on the 2010 team. And look, there were some veterans peppered in, and yes, there were misfits and randoms, and the Pat Burrells and the Aubrey Huffs and Cody Ross and later Hunter Pence joined for the 12 and 14 runs, and Michael Morse and all. There was a lot of randomness and added players that performed in the clutch, but I think those teams in 10 and 12 and 14 need a little bit more respect put on their name for the foundation being a lot more sturdy than they're given credit for. like there's way too much comparing of, well, this 24 Giants team's a couple games under, and the 2010 team was a couple games over middle of the year, and then they got hot, and then it was just like this team has got nothing on that team, or the 12 team that won 94 games. So again, I don't know. Maybe that's what a little bit more seasoning than the 25-year-old. Maybe having a little more seasoning gives me a little bit more of the perspective on that. But that's one of those things that does make me bristle a little bit. That there isn't enough respect put on the talent. Elite bullpen, not just a bunch of random dudes that were cobbled together. They had an elite closer in Brian Wilson, who was homegrown, like the first time, and Sergio Romo was somebody that came up and was a young player that they plugged into their bullpen. And yes, they went and got Affelt, who they signed as a free agent to be a reliever. And yes, they got Javier Lopez at the deadline, and Casilla was kind of a misfit other places, but I don't know. I think those teams, as we move farther away, it's odd that championship teams almost get treated as if they're worse over time. Usually it goes the other way. Usually, especially with a franchise and a fan base that hasn't won anything, those teams are so revered that they're almost, treated as if they were actually better than they were because they won titles. And I feel like Giants fans, I don't know, Jacob, I know we're up against it, but give me 60 seconds on that. Am I crazy? I know you're a longtime Giants fan, but you're younger than me, and so you've got a little different view on it. But are those teams that won treated too poorly now as we've all aged a little bit?
I don't think it's a lack of respect. I just think that they were underdogs in the time and who they went up against. They were underdogs against the Phillies team that was like the super squad of all these, the great, Cliff Lee and Roy Oswald and Cole Hamels, and we were supposed to lose to them, right? And then we get to the World Series and we're supposed to lose to the Tigers. They were
the 2 seed and granted, Philly was the 1, but the Giants were the 2 seed in 2010.
I know.
People forget that.
But I just don't think we were ever the overwhelming favorites, and we didn't, maybe even as a Giants fan, we didn't expect to do it. We didn't know we had the magic, until later on. And I just think that rotation was so damn good. And then, like you said, Buster Posey, and that's what put us over the top. And yeah, maybe we do kind of take that underdog mentality a little bit with looking at those teams, but there was a hell of a lot of talent, like you said.
I mean, but Farhan Zaidi hasn't had one dude come up and be on schedule. We drafted him a couple years ago. Here he is, and he's a superstar. And he's a future Hall of Famer. Boom, here he is. Now maybe one of the guys we're talking about now turns into that. But Posey was expected to be and delivered. So, I don't know. I digress. We're up against it. We'll come back. I'll try and sneak in another call here. Maybe that can be a little bit of a topic for tomorrow night as well. We'll get into some Niners tomorrow night. But final segment straight ahead. KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Sports Phone KNBR keeps rolling live from the KNBR Casino Matrix Progressive Jackpot Studios. Casino Matrix Progressive Jackpots are here. Where are you? Just drop in. Please play responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER.
As Yastrzemski swings, it's a high fly ball deep right. Frelick going back at the track, at the wall. It's gone! And just like that, the Giants go back ahead. Mike Yastrzemski hits a 2-run home run.
All right, Joe Rizzo on the call there. All the big innings were for Joe tonight as the Giants take the lead in the 7th, 5-4, and they make it stand up. Landon Roop, Tyler Rogers, Ryan Walker, and yeah, Camilo Doval gets the win. Camilo Doval for the Giants. Actually, wait, he didn't get the win, did he? Did he get the win? He did get the win. Camilo Doval got the win. That's right. He did finish the 6th, and then they went ahead after the Braves had gone ahead on the home run off of Logan Webb in the bottom of the 6th inning. Adames, man, all I could think was just Bob Melvin can't win for losing if the Giants had ended up losing this game. I mean, he chooses to go one way and it doesn't work. He chooses to go the other way and it doesn't work. He's been a little snake bit for sure here. But I don't know. Maybe this is a topic for tomorrow as well, as I'm going to be back on Sports Phone tomorrow after the Giants and the Brewers. But do you feel like this team's underachieved this year? Was something that I kind of jotted down. But to be honest, the game was too good tonight, and the postgame was going to be too short tonight to where diving into a meatier topic like that, you kind of want to have a little bit more time. And so I think we'll save that one for tomorrow. But I don't know. I to the eye test, I don't feel like the Giants have massively underachieved. I get the angst and frustration. And that, by the way, doesn't mean that I think, Farhan should be safe or anything like that. I just don't think that he's put together a quality enough team. But I don't look at like Bob Melvin and think, well, they should be 5 games better if he makes a move here and a move there. And and again, if you have 5 more wins, you're 10 over. You're basically where the Braves are right now. Like, I don't look at this team like they should be a 10 over 500 kind of a team. And at times, I think more often than not, they've looked like a team that should be a couple of games under 500 than a couple of games over 500, and yet here they are right at 1 over right now. So it is odd, the eye test versus the numbers versus the expectations from time to time. So that'll do it. Jacob Violante, appreciate you, my man, as always. And great stuff. And who do we have? Jordan tonight as well? Jordan helping out on the cuts. Appreciate her, and we will be back tomorrow after the Giants and the Brewers, taking your calls here on Sports Phone. Presented by Industrial Metal Supply, online at industrialmetalsupply.com. Metal made easy. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Giants, they beat the Brewers 5-4 right here on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.